Rimuru's Rage by Rimu Kai 24 Pit of Hell. Ruberios, the sacred land of the holy empire of Lubelius, stood serene under the glow of the eternal night sky. The city, bathed in moonlight, was a testament to divine faith, its towering cathedrals and grand temples built in reverence to the goddess Luminous. Streets paved with white stones stretched between Gothic structures, their stained glass windows depicting the miracles of their divine protector. Despite the ever-present night, the city was lively. Priests and knights patrolled in disciplined formations, while devoted citizens carried out their rituals with quiet reverence. Yet, amidst this peace, a storm brewed. A woman, adorned in a silver breastplate, walked with heavy steps. Her piercing Datke eyes blazed with fury, and her dark hair swayed with each step. She was Hinata Sakaguchi, the strongest holy knight, the captain of the Imperial Guards, and the one who enforced divine justice with absolute conviction. But today, she was not a knight of reason, she was a woman consumed by unrelenting rage. Damn that monster! I should have ended him before. Each step she took across the stone pavement echoed her anger. A boiling storm of emotions raged in her heart as her fingers clenched tightly around the hilt of her sword. Not only did he kill Shizu, but now, he has done the unthinkable. He has enslaved Luminous Sama. A filthy monster, a mere demon lord, has dared to make Luminous Sama into a servant. Her mind replayed the rumors she had received. Luminous, their goddess, the pillar of their faith, was now a mere slave to that slime. It was unthinkable. It was sacrilege. He dared to mock our faith, mock our beliefs, corrupt our very foundation. How many more will suffer because of him? That wretched demon must be erased. No, not just him, all of them. Her rage twisted into something darker. His people are nothing but monsters. Filth. Disgusting abominations walking the earth. They follow the demon lord blindly, worshipping him like fools. If they choose to side with him, then they are no different. If they exist, they are a threat to humanity. They must be eradicated. The peacefulness of Ruberios only served to anger her further. How long before this place fell into the hands of that demon? No, she wouldn't allow it. She would never allow it. Before she realized it, she had arrived at the grand temple where the 10 great saints held their meetings. Without hesitation, she burst through the grand double doors with a force that nearly tore them off their hinges. Bang! The doors slammed open, the impact shaking the chamber. Inside, the 10 great saints sat around an enormous marble table, deep in discussion until Hinata's sudden entrance silenced them. Ser, Glanda, Grigori, Leonard, Bacchus, Fritz, Lightus, Armude, and Guard all turned their heads toward her, their expressions shifting from surprise to shock. They had never seen Hinata like this. Her aura burned with fury, and her expression was twisted in an anger so raw, so intense, that even seasoned warriors like Ser and Leonard instinctively tensed. Leonard was the first to speak, concern in his tone. Lady Hinata, what is? I am not here to talk, Hinata cut him off, her voice sharp and ice-cold. I don't have time to waste on useless information. I want one thing. She stepped forward, slamming her hand on the table. Tell me everything you know about this new demon lord. A tense silence filled the chamber. The saints exchanged uneasy glances before Lightus, the most composed among them, spoke. We don't have much detail, she admitted. Walpurgis was held just 1.5 days ago. We are still gathering information. Hinata's eyes flashed with rage. I don't care. Her voice boomed across the room as she turned her fury directly at Lightus. I don't care how much time has passed. You must have something. Tell me everything you found, now. The entire table shook. Ser and Grigori immediately stood, their expressions now firm. Hinata, Ser snapped. What is the meaning of this? Why are you acting like this? Grigori nodded, his tone sharp. You're acting like you're in a blind rage. What exactly happened? Hinata slammed her fist on the table again, crack, nearly splitting the solid marble in two. I am in a blind rage, she shouted, and it's all because of this new demon lord. Leonard frowned. Lady Hinata, what exactly happened? Hinata clenched her fists, gritting her teeth. She couldn't tell them. If they knew the truth that their goddess was a demon lord, it could shatter their faith. No, that information was unnecessary. I will have my revenge on that demon, without revealing the truth. She took a deep breath before speaking. This demon lord is a threat to humanity. He is a disgrace to our goddess. He must be eliminated. Ser narrowed his eyes. That doesn't seem like the real reason for your anger. Glanda nodded. If this demon lord is dangerous to humanity, then doesn't that mean demon lords like Guy Crimson and Milam Nava are also threats? Or is it just this new demon lord? Hinata turned to her, her deadly glare sending chills down Glanda's spine. This demon lord kills for fun, Hinata spat, and according to the information I gathered his next target is Ruberios. The room fell into chaos. The saints panicked. What? Bacchus stood up, his face pale. He's coming here. Armude's hands trembled. This is bad. If we don't stop him now. Guard gritted his teeth. Their fear turned to resolve. We will not allow this. Leonard clenched his fist. We must kill him. Hinata nodded. Then it's decided. We invade Tempest. We will eradicate that demon lord. Him and his people. Guard smirked. I like this plan. Grigori nodded. We end him. But then, Lytus spoke again. This plan is reckless. All eyes turned to her. The information I found says this demon lord holds the title Lord of Nightmares, Lytus warned. And rumors say he is the best friend of the storm dragon Veldora. If that's true, facing him will be extremely dangerous. Hinata scoffed. I will kill Veldora. The room went silent. Ser, Glanda, Grigori, Leonard, Bacchus, Fritz, Lytus, Armude, and guards stared at her in shock. Hinata. What did you just say? Grigori asked in disbelief. Hinata smirked coldly. I have obtained the most powerful armor and weapons from the 7 luminaries. With these, I can kill the storm dragon. The room exploded in shock. Ser, Grigori, Leonard, Bacchus, Armude, and guard grinned, excitement filling their eyes. Then this will be easier than we thought, Ser laughed. Yes. We shall slay the demon lord and the dragon, guard declared. But Lytus, Glanda, and Fritz exchanged uneasy glances. This feels wrong, Glanda muttered. It's as if we're dancing on someone's palm. An argument broke out between the saints. It was Ser who broke the silence, his voice sharp. What's wrong with you 3? Are you really hesitating? This demon lord is a threat to all of humanity. We should be preparing to wipe him and his wretched kingdom off the map. Glanda narrowed her eyes. You're speaking like a blind fool, Ser. Bacchus scoffed. We're being practical. This demon lord is expanding his influence at an alarming rate. If we don't act now, we might never get another chance. Fritz shook his head. You're not thinking. How is he expanding so fast? How did he tame the storm dragon? How did he survive Walpurgis with all the other demon lords present? Doesn't this all seem too convenient? Armude growled in frustration. Stop overcomplicating things. He's just another arrogant monster. We've killed plenty before. Lytus stepped forward, her gaze sharp. No, this isn't normal. Every piece of information we have suggests this demon lord is unlike anything we've faced before. You think we can just storm his nation and kill him? You're severely underestimating him. Grigori slammed his hand on the table. And what do you suggest, Lytus? That we do nothing? Sit and wait while he corrupts the world? While he marches on Ruberios? We are holy knights? We are supposed to protect humanity? Glanda crossed her arms. Protect humanity. Or start a war we might not win. Leonard stepped forward, his eyes filled with resolve. We will win. With Hinata leading us and with the weapons of the 7 luminaries, we have the power to crush him. You 3 are being cowards. Fritz's expression darkened. And you're being reckless. You're treating this like a simple battle. But what if this demon lord has already outplayed us? What if we're walking straight into his trap? A heavy silence fell over the room. Both sides glared at each other. Some were blinded by hatred, some by fear, others by suspicion. But one thing was certain: war was coming. The air in the room crackled with tension, suddenly. Crack. Hinata slammed her hand on the heavy oak table, splitting it in 2 with sheer force. The sound echoed like a thunderclap, sending splinters flying. Leonard, Lytus, Glanda, Fritz, Bacchus, Armude, Ser, Grigori, and guards snapped their heads toward her, eyes wide in disbelief. Hinata's cold violet eyes burned with unrestrained fury as she glared at them, her voice cutting through the silence like a blade. Enough of this nonsense. The room stood still. No one dared breathe. I don't care about your doubts, your arguments, or your pathetic concerns. My decision is final. She took a step forward, her sheer presence suffocating the entire room. We are invading Tempest. The words hung in the air, suffocating, absolute. We will kill that damn demon lord. Her voice dripped with hatred. And we will erase his entire nation. Every last one of them. Leonard opened his mouth, trying to interject, but Lady Hinata. Shut up. Her glare was like a dagger piercing through him. The others stiffened as she swept her gaze across them, daring anyone else to object. I don't want to hear a single complaint. No more useless debates. Just follow my orders. If you refuse. A chilling smile curved her lips. I will consider you my enemy. A cold sweat ran down their backs. No one spoke. Not because they agreed, but because they all knew one thing. Hinata would not hesitate to cut them down. Silence. Then Hinata continued. Gather every holy knight we can. As many as possible. She folded her arms, her tone leaving no room for discussion. You have 3 days. Leonard hesitated. 3 days? Lady Hinata, we need at least 4. 3 days. Her words cut through the air like steel. Leonard swallowed. But Hinata's eyes flashed dangerously. 3 days. That is final. Do not test my patience. Leonard gritted his teeth but nodded. Understood. Hinata turned on her heel, heading for the door. Before leaving, she glanced back at them one last time, a warning in her eyes. Then, without another word, she left. For a long moment, no one spoke. The shattered table lay between them, a symbol of how violently everything had changed. Leonard clenched his fists. What happened to her? Sayre exhaled shakily. That wasn't the Hinata we knew. That was something else. Bacchus muttered, I've never seen her like this, not even in battle. Glande frowned. Her hatred for this demon lord, it's unnatural. Lytus shivered. It's as if she's lost all reason. What did he do to make her this way? Fritz gritted his teeth. The Lord of Nightmare, Rimuru Tempest. They all looked at each other, an unspoken fear settling in. What kind of monster were they about to face? 3 days later. The sun hung low in the sky, casting an eerie golden glow over Ruberios. The city, known for its peaceful atmosphere, now thrummed with unsettling tension. The usually serene streets were filled with armored soldiers, their polished silver and white plate glinting under the light. The symbol of the Holy Church, an ornate golden cross, adorned their capes as they stood in perfect ranks. The air was thick with discipline and devotion, but also a lurking sense of unease. At the heart of it all, thousands of holy knights stood at attention, their faces a mix of determination, fear, and unwavering faith. War banners flapped violently in the wind, displaying their allegiance to the Western Holy Church. The ground trembled under the sheer number of armored warriors, a sea of silver and gold, ready to march toward war. And at the front of them all Hinata Sakaguchi. She stood on an elevated stone platform, her gaze sharp as a blade. Dressed in her usual black and silver holy knight uniform, her black hair swayed with the breeze. But unlike before, there was a coldness to her expression. Not just determination, hatred. Her dark eyes burned with fury, but also something deeper, darker. Beneath the fury was a hunger for revenge. She still believed Rimuru had murdered Shizu. She still saw him as a monstrous demon lord, a tyrant who enslaved Luminous, and a threat to all of humanity. And so, today, she would wipe him off the face of the world. With cold fury, she took a step forward, looking over the massive army before her. Behind her stood the 10 great saints. Leonard, Lytus, Glanda, Fritz, Bacchus, Armude, Sayre, Grigori, and Guard all gathered, their faces grim. Even those who had doubts were now silent. The time for words was over. Now, it was war. Hinata raised her hand and with a single, commanding voice, she declared. We march to Tempest. With that, the entire army began their march, the ground shaking beneath their steps. Ruberios was left behind. Tempest lay ahead, and the storm of war had begun. In Tempest, the thriving nation built under the rule of Demon Lord Rimuru, was as vibrant as ever. The streets bustled with activity, merchants sold rare goods, adventurers gathered in taverns, and children played freely, all under the watchful eyes of their ruler. Unlike human kingdoms filled with fear and corruption, Tempest was a place where all races coexisted under Rimuru's absolute rule. At the heart of this prosperous city stood a majestic castle, towering high with an otherworldly presence. Its dark crystalline walls shimmered under the sunlight, giving off an eerie yet mesmerizing glow. Inside, in the most fortified room of all the Demon Lord's office, Rimuru sat behind a grand desk, elegantly sipping a cup of tea. Behind him, Luminous stood silently, a content smile adorning her lips. Something had changed in her demeanor over the past few hours. She seemed happy, almost like she was enjoying herself. For someone as prideful as her, such an expression was rare. Meanwhile, sprawled across the couch in the room, Veldora and Milam were deeply engrossed in reading manga, their eyes glued to the pages. Standing on Rimuru's desk, Ramirez flapped her tiny wings, while Beretta and Trainee stood quietly at the side, observing everything with calm expressions. Rimuru glanced at Ramirez and asked lazily, "So, what brings you here all of a sudden?" Ramirez pouted and crossed her tiny arms. "Remember when I said I wanted to visit Tempest?" Rimuru nodded, taking another sip of tea. "Yeah, so? Well, I decided that I'm gonna stay here from now on," she declared, flying behind Trainee as if expecting Rimuru to explode in anger. But to her surprise, Rimuru only sighed and said, "Is that what you want? Then welcome to Tempest." Ramirez froze midair. She slowly flew toward Rimuru and stared at him, wide-eyed. "You're not mad?" "Why would I be mad?" Rimuru asked, raising an eyebrow. Because I thought maybe I was being annoying," she said hesitantly. Rimuru sighed again and muttered, "I bet you're less annoying than Veldora." At that, Veldora, who had been quietly reading, immediately shouted, "Hey, I am not annoying." Milam burst out laughing, slapping the couch. Peeved, "Ha ha ha. Veldora, you're the most annoying person I know." Noda. Rimuru smirked. "See what I mean?" Ramirez blinked in shock before a huge grin spread across her face. She wasn't expecting such an easy acceptance. Overcome with joy, she twirled in the air, giggling like a child. Meanwhile, Rimuru called out, "Shuna." A moment later, the door opened, and Shuna gracefully entered. "Yes, my lord." "Prepare rooms for Ramirez, Beretta, and Trainee." Shuna bowed. "Understood." With that, she left to make arrangements. Rimuru turned back to Ramirez. "Enjoy yourself as much as you like." Ramirez eagerly nodded, then flew toward Luminous. "Hey, Luminous. You seem kinda different. Are you okay?" Luminous, who had been silent, turned her gaze toward the tiny fairy. "I'm fine. Better than ever, actually." Ramirez narrowed her eyes suspiciously. "Did Rimuru do weird things to you?" Luminous frowned. "Weird things? What do you mean?" "You know. Bad stuff." Realizing what she meant, Luminous blushed slightly and scoffed. "Of course not. Master never did anything like that to me." Ramirez looked back and forth between them before nodding. "I guess that's good to hear." Ramirez then turned toward Veldora and Milam. "Hey, what are you two reading?" Veldora, still focused on his manga, answered, "The latest volume of Demon King's Adventure. It's absolutely thrilling." "Ooh. Can I read with you guys?" Milam and Veldora both instantly refused. "No." Before Ramirez could throw a tantrum, Rimuru's voice cut in, "If you two aren't going to share, then I won't give you any more manga." At that, Veldora and Milam paled. "No, wait, we didn't mean it like that." Ramirez smirked. He, serves you right." With defeated expressions, Veldora and Milam reluctantly scooted over, making space for Ramirez. Fine, you can read with us," Veldora grumbled. Ramirez happily plopped down between them. Suddenly, a familiar presence appeared in front of Rimuru. Diablo. Rimuru lazily looked up. "What is it now?" Diablo bowed. "My lord, I have a favor to ask." Rimuru took another sip of tea. "Go on." Diablo's expression turned serious. "I wish to have my own subordinates." Rimuru raised an eyebrow. "What about Nox and Keel?" "Yes, they serve under me, but..." Diablo hesitated. "And..." Diablo's golden eyes gleamed. "I wish to bring in others like myself." You mean the remaining primordials? Diablo nodded. Rimuru leaned back, rubbing his chin. Seal, what do you think? Less than the remaining primordials include Blanc, white primordial, a cunning tactician. John, yellow primordial, a battle maniac. Vert, purple primordial, a mysterious and reserved schemer. Would you like further details about them, Master? No need. I already have an idea. Rimuru turned to Diablo. You have my permission. Diablo's face lit up with pure joy. Thank you, my lord. I swear upon my existence I will not disappoint you. With that, he disappeared in excitement. Luminous, who had been listening, frowned. You know what you're doing, right, Master? Rimuru glanced at her. What do you mean? Other primordials are not like Diablo. This could be dangerous. Rimuru smirked coldly. I'm the most dangerous being here. Understand? Luminous took a step back and bowed. I understand, Master, my apologies. Rimuru sighed and leaned back in his chair, but then a voice called out his name. Rimuru-san. His eyes narrowed. He looked around, but the only ones in the room were those he already acknowledged. Yet, the voice was familiar, soft and feminine. Rimuru's grip on his teacup tightened. The way his name was spoken, it sent an unsettling feeling through him. Milam and Veldora, oblivious to the sudden shift in atmosphere, continued reading. Luminous noticed his change in expression. Master? But he didn't answer. His gaze remained focused on the empty space in front of him, where that voice had come from. Who was that? 2 days later. Rimuru sat in his chair, leaning slightly forward as he rested his chin on his hand. Behind him stood Luminous, exuding her usual elegance, though there was a hint of frustration in her expression. She had a helper today, Gobwe, who was assisting her with basic service duties since Luminous was still new to them. Before Rimuru, 2 figures knelt, Nox and Keel, both loyal subordinates. Rimuru spoke in a calm yet commanding tone. I summoned you two because I have a mission for you both. Nox and Keel nodded without hesitation, awaiting further instructions. Go to Ingrasha and keep an eye on 5 children in the S-class. Ensure their safety, observe their progress, and report back to me regularly. If any danger arises, protect them at all costs. Understand? As you wish, Your Majesty, Nox and Keel responded in unison. Without another word, they vanished into the shadows. Rimuru let out a sigh, leaning back into his chair. He closed his eyes for a moment before glancing up at Luminous and Gobwe. Bring me some tea, he said lazily. Luminous and Gobwe nodded, turning toward the door. Just as they reached it, Rimuru's voice halted them. Luminous, he called, his tone slightly more serious. Has anything happened with the slave collar? Luminous turned back, her crimson eyes meeting his. Nothing has happened, my lord, she replied smoothly. Rimuru studied her for a moment before nodding. All right, you may go. Luminous and Gobwe bowed before exiting, leaving Rimuru alone in the quiet room. Inside Rimuru's mind, Seal speaks suddenly. A familiar voice echoed within Rimuru's mind. Less than Master, are you all right? Greater than Rimuru blinked, slightly surprised by the sudden concern. Yeah, I'm fine. Why do you ask? Less than nothing special, just checking. Greater than Rimuru sighed. You're acting a little strange, Seal. Less than I am merely ensuring your well-being. Greater than Rimuru shook his head with a small smirk. By the way, what's my current status? Less than do you want me to run a full analysis? Greater than? Yeah, go ahead. A glowing, intricate display formed in Rimuru's mind as Seal efficiently processed the data. Less than analysis complete. Displaying status. Greater than less than name, Rimuru Tempest. Age. 2/5, chronological age, physical appearance equivalent. EP value. Base. 95 million with Wrath King Sora, 110 million. With Magicule Breeder Reactor, 150 million. Tempest Sword, 10 million. Race. Viscous Devilish Dragon Lord. Blessings, Friend of the Spirit Queen. Blessing of Friendship titles. King of Tempest, Ruler of Monsters. Lord of Nightmares, Chaos Creator, Broken Ruler, Incomplete Devil. Manas. Seal, Wisdom Core. Skills and abilities. Ultimate skills. 1. Lord of Wisdom. Raphael 2. Gluttony King, Beelzebub. 3. Wrath King, Sora 4. Storm Dragon, Veldora 5. Lord of Vow, Uriel. 6. True Skill, Magicule Breeder Reactor, Dark Version. Generates and manipulates immense quantities of magicules nearly infinitely. Unique Skill. 1. Chronicles enables time travel and resistance to time manipulation. Currently unusable due to unmet conditions. Extra Skills. Universal Perception, Universal Barrier, Enhanced Replication. Dragon Spirit Hockey, Tempest Eyes, Tempest Ears, Tempest Weapon Creation. Defenses, Resistances. Physical Attack Resistance. Natural Element Resistance, Status Change Resistance. Spiritual Attack Resistance, Holy Attack Resistance. Demonic Attack Resistance, Dragonic Attack Resistance. Nullifications. Pain Nullification, Abnormal Condition Nullification. Physical Attack Nullification, Spiritual Attack Nullification. Holy Attack Nullification, Demonic Attack Nullification. Dragonic Attack Nullification. Greater than Rimuru studied his status and sighed. Still no changes. His gaze turned sharp as he asked, "What about my devil evolution?" Less than your incomplete devil evolution has strengthened your body and aura significantly. However, it remains unfinished. Greater than. Rimuru frowned. Then complete it. Less than at this moment, I cannot. Greater than. His expression darkened slightly. Why? Less than your soul is still fractured. Forcing the evolution now could endanger your existence. It requires time to heal. Greater than. Rimuru leaned back in his chair, exhaling deeply. I see. All right, thanks, Seal. Less than always here for you, Master. Greater than. A small smirk tugged at Rimuru's lips. Yeah. Rimuru sat leisurely in his office, sipping tea as he enjoyed a rare moment of peace. The quiet hum of magicules filled the air, and for once, there was no pressing issue demanding his attention. But then a deep, resonant voice echoed in his mind, cutting through the stillness like a blade through air. It's been a long time, Rimuru Tempest. Rimuru's fingers twitched slightly, his grip on the teacup tightening for a brief moment. That voice, it was familiar. A memory flashed through his mind. The Falmouth invasion. Back then, amidst the chaos, a mysterious voice had spoken to him, but he had never discovered who it belonged to. His golden eyes narrowed. Yeah, it has been a long time, Rimuru replied nonchalantly. So, what's with the sudden visit? You appeared out of nowhere, spoke some cryptic words last time, and then vanished. What's the meaning of all this? The voice let out a chuckle, deep and unsettling. Don't be mad, Rimuru. I'm merely here to provide you with some valuable information. Rimuru leaned back, resting his chin on his hand. His interest was piqued. Information, you say? Go on. Keep an eye on the Eastern Empire. At that, Rimuru's gaze sharpened. The Eastern Empire, huh? Let's just say, the voice continued, there are a few individuals there who might cause you some trouble, for you and your nation. Rimuru exhaled through his nose, his smirk turning icy. Is that so? And why exactly are you giving me this information? I have my reasons. Yeah? Well, listen. Rimuru's tone dropped, laced with cold amusement. It's hard to trust someone I don't even know. You won't tell me your name, you won't show yourself, and yet, here you are feeding me intel. Sounds sketchy, don't you think? The voice let out a low hum. I can't reveal my name or show myself because I am currently in my spiritual form. I can only speak to you and observe. Rimuru sighed. TCH. Fine, whatever. But tell me, why do you want me to survive so badly? The voice fell silent for a moment before answering. First of all, our deal is still active. You have to eliminate the person I desire, and in return, I will ensure your survival as well as your nation's. Rimuru's expression darkened slightly. Our deal, huh, go on. Second, if anything happens to you, our agreement will be null and void. And third, the voice paused, then chuckled, I need you alive to fulfill your end of the deal. Rimuru leaned back, tapping his fingers against the desk. You make a fair point. There was a brief silence before the voice spoke again, amusement lacing its tone. I see. You've gotten stronger, Rimuru smirked, his golden eyes gleaming. Obviously. I have a trick that could make you even stronger.
Rimuru raised an eyebrow. Oh, and what would that be? Let me take control of your body. Just for a second. Immediately, Ciel's voice rang in his mind, urgent and filled with alarm. Less than master. I have detected an unknown force attempting to seize control of your body. Taking immediate countermeasures. Greater than. An intense surge of power erupted around Rimuru as Ciel moved swiftly to block whatever was trying to invade him. His entire being trembled for a moment before stabilizing. The voice let out a chuckle. You have quite the formidable protection. I must say, I'm impressed. Rimuru's gaze darkened. Why are you trying to take over my body? Fine, then, the voice sighed. How about this? Let me take control of just half of your body. Rimuru exhaled sharply, closing his eyes. Ciel. Less than master. I strongly advise against this. Allowing an unknown entity to control even a fraction of your body could be catastrophic. There are too many risks involved greater than. Rimuru interrupted her with a firm yet calm voice. I insist. Ciel hesitated. Less than. Understood. Greater than. A powerful wave of energy surged through Rimuru's body as he willingly allowed the unknown force to take control of half of him. A chilling sensation spread through him, like ice crawling under his skin. Slowly, he opened his eyes. One of them still glowed with its usual golden hue. But the other, it was now a deep, ominous purple. The very air shifted. The atmosphere grew heavy, as if something ancient had awakened. A wicked smirk curled on Rimuru's lips, a newfound power pulsing through his veins. The voice chuckled. Magnificent. This form suits you quite well. Rimuru slowly raised his right hand his own. Then, he lifted his left hand, the one now under the control of the mysterious force. It trembled slightly before steadying. His half-controlled body felt different. He could sense something ancient, something powerful coursing through him. He exhaled sharply, flexing his fingers. The power, it wasn't his, yet it felt familiar. The voice hummed in satisfaction. This is but a mere taste of what true power feels like. If you wish to ascend even further, there is much more I can offer. Rimuru tilted his head slightly, his smirk unwavering. We'll see about that. For now, he focused on the presence inside him. It was strong, dangerous, but also useful. This entity had its own agenda, yet for some reason, it wanted Rimuru to survive. You've made the right choice, Rimuru. Rimuru closed his eyes again, and in an instant, the foreign power vanished. His left eye returned to its golden hue, and the eerie sensation faded. Ciel finally spoke, her voice filled with uncharacteristic relief. Less than master. Please, be more careful next time. Greater than. Rimuru smirked. We'll see. One thing was certain. This was just the beginning. Meanwhile, outside the Tempest borderline, the sun barely peeked over the horizon as 4,000 holy knights stood in tight formation just outside Tempest's borders. Their shining silver armor reflected the dim morning light, a sea of steel and divine energy. They held their weapons firmly, blessed swords, enchanted spears, and sacred shields, all brimming with holy power. At the front stood Hinata Sakaguchi, her piercing gaze locked onto the distant city of Tempest. Her black hair swayed slightly in the cold breeze, her dark eyes burning with unrelenting fury. Standing behind her were the 10 great saints, some of the most powerful warriors under the command of the Western Holy Church. Leonard, a tall, heavily armored warrior wielding a golden longsword. Lytus, a lithe swordswoman with an icy demeanor. Fritz, a calm and analytical fighter, his blade resting at his side. Bacchus, a hulking brute with a massive war hammer. Glanda, a sharp-eyed archer, her bow already strung. Guard, a heavily robed priest knight, murmuring silent prayers. Grigori, a cunning tactician, scanning the battlefield. Ser, a silent executioner, his curved blade gleaming. Armud, a knight wrapped in flowing robes, radiating an ominous divine presence. Tempest, visible from their position, looked almost peaceful. The streets bustled with activity. Market stalls opened, children ran around playing, and merchants arranged their wares. Smoke curled from chimneys as people prepared their morning meals. The city was alive, untouched by war. Leonard scoffed, shaking his head. Tisk. To think a demon lord's domain would be this lively. Lytus narrowed her eyes. It's strange. From here, it looks no different than a regular human kingdom. Fritz nodded. I won't lie, it's almost beautiful. Bacchus chuckled. Maybe we're fighting the wrong enemy. But before they could continue, Hinata turned sharply, her voice cold as ice. Silence. The knights fell quiet instantly, feeling the raw rage in her tone. This place is an illusion of peace. It is a den of monsters, a mockery of the natural order. Do not forget why we are here. The knights tensed. Leonard hesitated before asking, then, how do we attack? Hinata's eyes darkened. We will enter without being noticed and kill every last one of them. We will cleanse this blight from the world before the demon lord even realizes we are here. Glanda frowned. And how do we avoid detection? Even with our numbers, we'll trigger their defenses. Grigori suggested, what about a holy barrier? We could suppress their magic and weaken them before we attack. Hinata scoffed. Falmouth's army tried that and failed miserably. Rimuru already knows how to counter it. We need something stronger. Ser furrowed his brows. Then, how do we remain unseen? Without another word, Hinata drew her sword, a legendary blade, gifted by the Luminism Church. Dragon Slayer. A weapon forged with divine light, capable of cutting through any enemy, even a true dragon. At least that's what they think. She raised it high and chanted a complex incantation. Sacred runes flared to life along the blade. A wave of holy magic erupted from her, enveloping the entire army. Their presence dimmed, their auras fading into the background of the world itself. The knights gasped. Leonard's eyes widened. This is one of the Luminism's forbidden techniques. Fritz whispered, how did she learn this? Hinata ignored them, sheathing her blade. No more questions. Get ready. The knights straightened, gripping their weapons. She turned to face the 4,000 soldiers and raised her voice. Hinata's speech. This is the day we purge evil from the world. This city, this nation, is a disease that spreads chaos and filth across our lands. These creatures pretend to be human. They mimic our lives, but they are beasts in disguise. Abominations that defile our gods. They murdered thousands of our soldiers before. And now, we repay that debt in full. The demon lord Rimuru Tempest is an enemy of the world. If he is allowed to exist, the world will fall into darkness. Her eyes burned with fury as she raised her sword. Leave no one alive. In the name of the gods, we purge this city. The holy knights roared in unison, raising their weapons to the sky. For humanity. For the gods. Then, they charged. Tempest was not prepared. The silent army slipped through the outer defenses without a trace, their divine magic cloaking their presence. Then, the slaughter began. Knights stormed the streets, cutting down men, women, and elderly alike. Blades sliced through unarmed citizens, their screams filling the once peaceful air. Children sobbed, clutching their mothers as the knights descended upon them like reapers. One knight raised his sword to cut down a small beastman girl. Stop. Lytus grabbed his wrist, her eyes flashing with hesitation. She's just a child. Fritz stepped beside her. This is too much. At least let the children and parents go. Hinata whirled around, her voice like thunder. No mercy. Quote. Lytus and Fritz flinched as the knight obeyed, slashing down the child. A tide of blood and bodies filled the streets. Hundreds fell in mere moments. Suddenly, a shockwave tore through the battlefield. The air rippled as multiple powerful auras erupted from within Tempest. Benimaru, Hakuro, Geld, Gobta, Ranga, Gabaru, and Sue's clone appeared like ghosts, landing in the streets with burning fury in their eyes. Benimaru's hand ignited in hellfire. You dare attack our people? Hinata stepped forward, unfazed. You are all monsters. Bring your leader, Demon Lord Rimuru, to me. Benimaru's crimson eyes narrowed. You must be Hinata Sakaguchi. He cracked his knuckles, fire dancing across his arms. Mind telling me why you're murdering innocent people? Hinata's lips curled in disgust. Those are not people. They are monsters. Bring Rimuru before I exterminate every last one of them. Benimaru clenched his fists. Before he could respond, Sue appeared beside him, whispering something. Benimaru's expression darkened. Then, he drew his sword. You will regret this. Hinata unsheathed Dragon Slayer, pointing it at them. No. Rimuru is the one who will regret facing me. In Rimuru's office. In the heart of the Demon Lord's castle, deep within Tempest, Rimuru sat in his office, absent-mindedly flipping through documents. The golden glow of the chandelier cast a warm light across the grand room, illuminating the massive wooden desk cluttered with reports, maps, and sealed scrolls. Despite the endless stream of paperwork, Rimuru was surprisingly relaxed. He leaned back in his chair, legs crossed, a slight smirk on his lips. He had successfully dodged most of his usual responsibilities today, leaving only a few minor tasks to deal with. Across from him, Luminous Valentine sat elegantly on a chair, her eyes watching him with a mixture of boredom and curiosity. Her long silver hair draped over her shoulders, and her black and white maid dress added to her ethereal presence. Rimuru sighed, tapping his fingers on the desk. Milam went back to her domain, right? Luminous nodded. Yes, my lord. She left early this morning. Rimuru exhaled, relieved. Good. That means she won't cause trouble for now. He leaned forward, resting his chin on his palm. And Veldora? Where is that big idiot? Luminous tilted her head. He's with Romulus in her domain. Something called the small world, if I remember correctly. Rimuru arched an eyebrow. And you didn't question why? Luminous shrugged. Romulus mentioned something about a surprise for you, master. I assumed it wasn't anything important. Rimuru sighed again. Why does that sound like a disaster waiting to happen? Just as he was about to change the subject, a voice in his mind. Less than master. Greater than. A cold, mechanical voice echoed in his head. It was Seal, his most trusted and ultimate skill, speaking directly into his mind. Rimuru's eyes sharpened. What is it? Less than I have detected an unidentified group of 4010 individuals within Tempest. Greater than. Rimuru froze. Quote. What? Less than master. Greater than Seal continued. Less than 192 souls have just returned to you through the soul corridor. Greater than. Rimuru's heart skipped a beat. He bolted upright, the chair screeching against the marble floor. What do you mean? Luminous frowned at his sudden change in demeanor. Master. Rimuru ignored her, his voice sharper. Seal. What do you mean by 192 souls returned to me? Less than I apologize, master, but 192 of your named citizens have been. Greater than. She hesitated. Rimuru's breath caught in his throat. Quote. Killed. His blood ran cold. A crushing silence filled the office. Then. Bang. Rimuru slammed his hand onto the desk, shattering it into splinters. His golden eyes burned with fury as he roared. They what? Luminous flinched, her eyes wide in shock. Master. What is happening? Before he could answer, two figures materialized before him, Sue and Soka. Sue kneeled instantly. My lord. Rimuru's voice was ice. What the hell is happening? Sue's expression darkened. Tempest is under attack. A group of holy knights has infiltrated the city, and they are massacring our people. Rimuru's rage ignited like an inferno. His magicules surged, sending a crushing pressure through the room. Then, less than master. Greater than. Ciel's voice trembled. Less than the number has increased. More souls are returning to you. Greater than. Rimuru stiffened. Quote. How many? Less than. 250. Greater than. For a moment everything stopped. Rimuru's fury exploded. A shockwave tore through the castle, causing the walls to shake. His body radiated pure malice, the sheer weight of his aura causing Luminous and Soka to stumble backward. Sue. Sue straightened instantly. Tell Benimaru and the others to hold the enemy back. I will evacuate the citizens myself. Understood. Sue vanished in a blur. Rimuru turned to Soka, his voice sharp. You stay here. When I teleport our people, it's your job to keep them calm. Understood. Soka bowed deeply. As you will, my lord. Luminous, still stunned, finally spoke. Master, what is happening? Rimuru's piercing gaze locked onto her. You stay here and help Soka. Luminous narrowed her eyes. I can help you, Moss. Obey the order, damn it. His voice shook the air like thunder. Luminous stiffened. She had never seen this side of him before. Then, slowly, she lowered her head. Quote. As you command. Rimuru turned away, storming toward the balcony. He stepped outside and jumped, plummeting toward the ground below. Luminous and Sokka followed. Seal. Less than yes, master. Greater than. Put a barrier around the castle. Use ultimate skill, Uriel. Less than acknowledged. Deploying Devil's Fortress. Greater than. A barrier erupted around the entire castle, a divine shield sealing the area. Rimuru's fury deepened. Now, teleport every citizen of Tempest here. And the bodies, too. Less than understood. Greater than. A wave of magic spread across the entire city. In an instant thousands of people appeared inside the castle grounds, their wounded bodies shaking, their faces filled with terror and grief. But what made Rimuru freeze was the bodies. The lifeless corpses of men, women, and children lay scattered before him. His heart stopped. For a moment, he couldn't breathe. Luminous gasped, her face pale. The survivors fell to their knees, sobbing. Some begged him. Lord Rimuru, please, bring them back. Please. My child. Please save her. Not again. We already lost everything once. Not again. Small hands grasped his cloak. A young beastman girl, barely 5 years old, clung to him, her tiny hands shaking. Please. Bring back my papa. Please. Tears fell from her hollow eyes.
Then a single tear slipped from Rimuru's eye, then another. Then another. And then a single purple tear, and finally, a pure black tear. The crowd fell silent. They had never seen Rimuru cry like this before. His eyes snapped open. His once golden irises now burned purple, outlined with golden light. This was not that mysterious voice taking over. This was him, forcing his body to accept a power belonged to that mysterious voice. Less than master. You have acquired an unidentified power. If you use it, it may drain your energy. Or worse, it could kill you. Greater than. Rimuru's expression darkened. Who cares? He clenched his fist. Let's show them a pit of hell for what they did to my people, to my nation.
The sky above Tempest darkened. The wind stilled. A suffocating pressure descended upon the land. For a moment, everything was silent, but then, reality itself trembled. Crack. The very air split apart, as if the world was breaking under the sheer weight of something monstrous. From where Rimuru had stood, a violent storm erupted, tearing through the castle grounds. Lightning coiled around the area, blackened flames flickered into existence, and the earth itself screamed as something unnatural began to take form. Luminous staggered back, eyes wide in horror. Sokka fell to her knees, unable to breathe. Even the citizens who had been crying out for help now shook in terror, their bodies instinctively recognizing what was happening. This wasn't just rage. This wasn't just grief. This was something beyond hatred. Something primordial. Something unstoppable. And at the center of it all, Rimuru. His body shimmered, his magicules surged, his very existence warped reality as he absorbed the power Seal had warned him about. His golden eyes had fully transformed, now burning with a deep, abyssal purple. Dark energy rippled from his form, so dense it made even the strongest monsters in Tempest feel like insignificant ants. This wasn't the same demon lord everyone knew. This was something else. Something far worse. Then, boom. A single step. And in that instant, a hole was torn through space itself. Lightning struck down like the wrath of the heavens, splitting the land where he once stood. Dark flames danced, devouring the air itself. Then, he was gone. No sound. No warning. Just an instant. And he vanished. The world itself held its breath. But everyone knew. Hell was about to be unleashed. To be continued.